Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a splendid morning to you. This is Newsline. We're live, as always, from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And it's all about politics, isn't it? Because that's what we all are talking about, or so it seems. And this morning on Newsline, on our extended version of Newsline, 45 minutes or just under now, we will be accepting your questions by SMS 0772 300 305, a card coming up on your screen about now. We'll be taking your questions, the bulk of them, towards the last 15 minutes of the program. Our guest this morning is an iconic figure in the world of leftist politics, and he's right here with us. He's also the man who first asked for a presidential inquiry into the bomb scam, and several others. The former parliamentarian, the former head of COPE, he's here with us, Mr. D.E.W. Dew Gunasekara. Very good morning to you, Mr. Gunasekara.
Good morning, Faraz.
Thank you very much for being here. I see you've got some notes there. Is that for you to ask me questions, or am I going to ask you questions?
Them other notes.
Right, some other notes. All right, then. Right, sorry we couldn't get a clip of what these were. But tell me, Mr. Dew Gunasekara, we've got politics on our mind. What, we got nearly 1.6 million, let's say 1.5 million new voters coming online. They're obviously young. What would you say to them? Look, this is what you need to look for in any politician whom you want to vote for. What are those, without getting into who the candidates and all that business are, what is the template to follow? What would you say to these young people who probably be your great grandchildren?
The young people or teenage voters.
Yes. The first time voters.
First time voters, I think they are expected, supposed to be the floating vote.
All right, yes, the floating vote.
Majority of the floating votes,
Yeah.
I think, belong to that group.
Yes.
In fact, I myself have been asking various questions from the young people.
Right.
They still remain non-committed.
Non-committed, that's a lovely
Just at
word.
the moment. At the moment.
Yes, but how does one convert? I mean, obviously when you're the non-committed voter,
Yeah.
will be the subject of intense attention by all the candidates. So,
the first thing is not the candidate itself, because now the president
yeah,
is not that all-powerful president. The future president will not be all-powerful like J.R. Jawad.
not like JR.
With all, because the power has been curtailed
Yeah.
under the 19th Amendment.
Yeah,
So it will be the next parliament is more important than, in my view,
yeah,
than the president's post itself.
right.
Of course, he is going to be the head of the state,
And he's going to be the head of the cabinet.
head of the cabinet. So all important.
Yes.
And here I think for us this time, unlike previous elections, this is my observation, candid observation is that even on the political stage as platform as well as amongst the people
Yeah.
are concentrating more on policies than on candidates and individuals. This is a new
On policies.
policies,
Yeah.
not politics,
Yeah.
policies.
Yes.
This has happened in the previous elections, right?
In the previous elections, always been party side.
It was a manifesto. We are giving some promises.
Yeah.
But this time, people are discussing issues.
Policies.
There's a very salutary feature. It's a good.
So that's good.
It's
so
good.
so
So that is my say
yeah.
in answer to your question. I
Yeah.
am asking these teenage voters.
Yeah.
Concentrate on the policies.
on the policies.
Policies that affect you, affect the country
Yes.
at large,
Right.
more than on the individual.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, because you're actually asking what these policies mean, not for you individually, but
Because
for
I am
the country.
I'm taking up that position for us because today our economy is never been so bad in the history of our country since independence.
Is it that bad?
So bad.
Right.
So bad. So, to tell you, our government revenue is not adequate to repay our installment repayment of the debt.
That's very.
Leave alone the other capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. For repayment of the loan, that government revenue is not adequate. So we are so in a precarious position.
Very precarious.
So this is something last. This is my general observation is we are this year is the 40 years of liberalization of the economy.
Right.
40 years. And when when he introduced this new strategy, economic strategy,
An open economy.
Open economy, he expected
Yeah.
to be a export-led economy.
Well, that's now.
But today,
currently it's a bit of a
after
joke.
40 years,
Yeah.
it's an import-led economy, not export-led economy. And our imports have doubled the exports. The net result. As a result, no government revenue, no foreign exchange earnings, no savings, no capital formation, no FDIs down the line, poverty, and big disparity in income, and all these economic problems are getting reflected in politics, in the society, in the culture, and so that is why I am asking the young people
to
concentrate
on
on
policies. All right. So they should actually look up whatever the policy is.
Policy, that is it.
So as you say, the economy has never been in such a perilous state as it is now. So, and J.R. Jayawardene is opening up of the economy, of going the free market route, has
something radically wrong.
Something's wrong. And what is that wrong? Is it because local manufacturing, for example, if you want to encourage them, then obviously we need to get our factories and our output right. But to do that, there are all sorts of indirect taxes, Mr. Dugunsekara. Some of these taxes are golden nuggets. They're hidden away, tucked away until you are never to be discovered unless you are a manufacturer.
No, far as I am a little more objective in this. Ours is a small economy.
Right.
Right. And we are part of the world economy. Right. Not like situation is not what it was in 40 years back. Right.
Yeah.
Part of the world. We are interdependent, integral, right? Interconnected. And whatever happens in the global economy is getting reflected here and impact on our economy. So there are factors beyond our control. That is what most of our politicians don't take that into account, the world economy. In the parliament, foreign affairs is never discussed in the parliament. International developments are never discussed in parliament. And global economy, on the budget day, no one talks about the global economy. Right? And all other countries are talking about other global economy excepting us. We have global challenges.
Yes, but our problems are more close to home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they have to justify the high interest rates, thanks to them fixing
and the other thing is, being a smaller economy, we must the resources that we have, the precious resources, the human resources, not anything else. Our natural resources are limited, right? Our infrastructure development, we don't have sufficient capital for improvement of the physical resources.
But what
when we don't have enough financial resources, the resources at our disposal is our people, the human resources. We must concentrate on our development of human resources, mainly the education. The child who enters the school and gets out of the university and in between so many dropouts, taking the overall, we must improve their education, skills, then then scientific application, various other things.
Okay.
This is the only way out which we have neglected.
Right. Now that we've spent that amount of time looking at that aspect of it, shall we get down to an analytical point?
Yeah.
Which which you like doing. What's the score right now in terms of our presidential election?
Presidency election.
So then we can you answer that and then we can discuss that.
Oh, yeah. I wish to play the role of a political analyst, not as a political leader.
Okay.
Being for purpose of discussion.
Yeah.
That is better than that.
Yeah.
So what are the factors that are influencing the decisions of the people? That is, that as we discussed earlier, the collapse of the economy.
Yeah.
Then there has been reflecting the society, culture, and various.
Yes or no? But what's the current situation? Current situation.
The current situation.
We have all these candidates, and which of these?
We have 35 candidates.
Which candidate would you say then reflects the better policies for the country?
No, no one has presented the policies yet.
Right. Yes, that's true.
And in a couple of days they are going to present.
Yeah.
So far we don't know.
Yeah.
They say we are, only thing verbally they say we are doing this, giving all sort of promises and all that.
Yeah.
But not the promises. Say we are increasing the salaries. Those are, I don't take them very seriously. And those things can be honored.
No, I want to ask you a question. There was a press conference the other day, and somebody asked this question, but it wasn't really properly answered by the candidate. And the question that was posed was, can you look to the future without addressing the past? This was asked by somebody, I can't remember the name of the journalist, but it was posed to...
No, you'll have to address the past, no doubt. But you'll have to critically and self-critically, both.
Yes, because this was asked of candidate...
That is because the past, because he is a newcomer.
Yeah.
So there were all people who are responsible there, so they should have answered that. That is the reason.
Yes, but there was...
He was only an official, the others were ministers.
Yeah.
So he passed the baby on quite correctly.
He passed the baby, but what's the answer?
No, answer of course.
Can you go to the future without...
No. Then the person who raised the question should put the question again.
Yeah.
It ended up there abruptly.
Indeed.
But
I'm taking it on.
No,
now.
I am taking really. But last 4.5 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
This is the first time I see, with due respect to the leaders of the UNP,
Yeah.
that the UNP has miserably failed in the economic management.
What do you mean the first time?
First time in the history of the UNP.
Okay.
History of the UNP. And I put the whole blame on the leader who managed the economy, Ranil Wickremesinghe. He messed up everything.
So there you go. Here's the question then. Is that because there's too much of power with the one man?
Oh, no. Policies. They cannot correct
Yes,
policies.
He's just one man. There's a whole...
I'm
working committee. What about...
He was the Minister of Economic Policies,
right,
in charge of economy.
Yeah.
You know, the Jaya Jawadan dismantled the whole economic planning system.
No. Let's talk about Ranil Wickremesinghe.
So, Ranil, he was in charge of economic policies.
Right.
But what has happened? We had a growth rate of 6.8% until 2015.
Yeah.
It was in 2015. It was somewhere 5% plus 5% plus.
Yeah.
Today, now last quarter, it has come down to say 2%.
But
2.5%.
How much of that is poor planning, and how much of that is international global events, like you first said?
There are factors beyond our control, no doubt. Then factors beyond control are no doubt they are, but there are more factors within your control.
Right.
That is why I mentioned that they miserably failed in the economic management.
Is that because
there's no production in the country for us. There's
Yeah.
no production, no productivity. The basic thing is that when we don't have sufficient dollars, we don't have sufficient rupees. Our foreign debt is $55 billion. You see, really it is 54 plus, nearing 55. I put the round figure.
Yeah.
55 billion, right? Then what is our domestic debt? Domestic debt is 11 trillion rupees.
Right, now Mr. Wickremesinghe is probably quite rightly pointing out that some of the projects that the government, the loans he's inherited in his administration, like the highways, for example, didn't produce enough results to pay for it. So he's going to have to find money from elsewhere.
Highways is only there.
No, that's only one thing.
That is one thing. That is why in the infrastructure development, that is where the economics, infrastructure, along with the infrastructure development, on parallel you must set up industries.
Right.
Then you will be getting really some money back for repayment.
Now,
Which has failed. That is one thing.
Mr. Gunsagar, do you remember when they first came in, when Mr. Wickremesinghe first became Prime Minister, and in between, whilst doing the bond scam and so on, whilst that was happening, he also said that he was going to introduce 1 million jobs, I presume new jobs, right? But about a few central bank figures around, say, 6 months ago, revealed that in the public sector there was 440,000 jobs less. So what should they have done to get 1 million jobs?
I think public service is already overstaffed.
Yeah.
14% of our labor force is in the public sector,
Right.
the government sector. 26% in the corporate sector,
Yeah.
private sector, organized private sector.
Yeah.
The balance is 60% is in the informal economy,
Yeah.
right? For us, the real problem is that every single successive government, as in my friend, I was also part of the government, so self-critically I said, a section that we really didn't look after was the informal economy. Where the 60% of our working people are in the informal economy. Informal economy means, to put it in details, people who own half acre, quarter acre, 1 acre, 2 acre, smallholders. Say tree shovelers, drivers, say pavement hawkers, then people in small business, micro business, and self-employed people. These are the people, they don't have any benefit, no pension, they are not pensioners, they don't have EPF, they don't have no purchasing power, they can't strike, they will starve.
Yeah, they're striking against themselves. Yeah, okay.
So this is, therefore, that is why there had not been development, infrastructure development. I mean, finally you will have to come down to it's a capital formation. There's no domestic capital formation, and there's no FDI coming into the country.
But perhaps it's indicative that of something good, perhaps, because the stock market appears to have woken up. All of a sudden, soon after the announcement of Mr. Premadasa as the common candidate of that UNP-led Democratic National Front, the stock market suddenly woke up. It's doing things.
You will have to wait till the elections are over. Finally, these are spurts. You can't. I mean,
well, it shows that market sentiment.
It may be because the Ranil is going exit. Maybe it may be a favorable factor.
Well, you said
that doesn't mean that
you said that.
That doesn't mean that it is going to be a stabilizing factor. I don't think. We'll have to wait and see what the end result of the election.
Okay, so that's the economy. What other things do you think that Mr. Premadasa or Mr. Rajapaksa needs to get going? The economy is one thing. What about the longer term? What about education? Is it all going
That's why I said human resource development is
Yeah.
part of education.
So what
Education should not be the term that should be used.
right.
In India, in India you don't have an education minister. It's a human resource minister.
Right.
But today education means say primary education, secondary education, tertiary education, then vocational training,
Yeah.
then science and technology. All you must put all together.
Okay.
It's a sort of integrated education system.
Okay.
It's a really development of human resources. When I was a minister, I prepared a policy, having research for 2 years with all economists and sociologists and all the rest, and it's there in the gathering dust there in the parliament. Right.
On that note, let's remind everyone that we are entertaining questions by SMS, please. 0772 300 305. Card should be coming up on your screen anytime now. And of course, we are in conversation with Mr. DEW, Dew Gunasekara. Mr. Dew Gunasekara, we've got many questions to ask you. And you were part of that previous government as well. One question here says, what about the non-performing ports? Not loans, which is at the state banks. We'll come to that as well. The first one is, what about the money? I think this is a response.
Non-performing loss has increased substantially during the last 5 years.
Yes.
It has come to about 6%, I hear. Yes, I saw.
But isn't that because having spent all this money on the ports, there was hardly any income. There was only like one or two ships.
It's no production. That is the reason. Finally, end result, no production. You only consume. Ours is a country which, all what we get even by way of loans, what are we going to do, what are we doing? We consume. We don't invest.
Yeah.
We don't produce. We only consume.
Question for Mr. Dew G. Does he agree that non-performing ports and airports are the main cause of this calamity? Should we curtail imports and go back to import controls till the economy is stabilized? In short, cut the coat according to the cloth. Not the
Sajid Premadasa's article in one of the newspapers recently, about week before, he says he says free imports and free exports.
Well, that's a full open economy.
So open how? If free means no restriction. No, I'm only answering the question.
Yeah.
How can you? He suggested to curtail imports. Here the new candidate said open it.
So different opinion there. Okay, another one. Our biggest resource is our beautiful country. We are not making use of this. If it was a country like Singapore, they would have minted money with this resource. They are doing well without this.
I am not a person who don't compare us with Singapore.
No,
Singapore is Singapore developed under completely different historical conditions.
Okay, the point is here. What about our natural resources?
Our natural resources are now today limited. Even they have not been fully. The last thing, the Murghagand. After that, there won't be any development in the. We are coming to the end of the Mahavali, right?
What about that other one?
What?
Umaoya.
Now, Umay also coming to the end. Now already, I think, the end of this year is coming. These two, after that, there will be only minor irrigation projects, not bigger.
There's another question. This one is to do with your term with MR. What is your response to the fact that you were with MR?
Yeah.
And there was corruption then too, and then you were part of the government.
Yeah, but I am not a victim of corruption. No,
they're not. They're not saying anything about you. But
corruption is there as a phenomenon world over.
So are you saying?
Right.
So you
I am not. We will have to be curbed. There's no question about it. Right. That is why I know more than anyone else, because I was the head of the COP. For 31 long years, there was no COP reports to the parliament. It is I who I investigated all the institution
okay.
and produced a report.
Now I
So
want
I am the person who brought up all the question of corruption in the public service into the parliament.
we say it the way we receive it, okay? Now, and on Newsline, we
But,
do ask you direct and upfront questions. Here's one from one of our viewers. Was the economy good when we had to queue and fight for 2 loaves of bread? No rice, nothing did we have under the UF government of the SLFP, LSSP. They ruined our tea estates and everything they did. They were kicked out in 1977. Thank God. Now, DEW,
That is why we were thrown out.
so those are wrong, bad policies.
That is why that policy is abandoned by all the political parties.
Right. Here comes a somebody is asking, where's the justice for the agricultural ministry and so on, but those fall under a greater thing where it's not properly planned out.
Agriculture produces only 9% of the GDP
And it should
Right.
be doing much more than that.
and accounts for about say 35-40% of the people really benefiting agriculture. It is so that section of the population really have been hit most. That I agree. Agriculture is very badly neglected. There are a number of factors are there. Climate change is one of the factors, but other than that, the price fluctuations.
Right. Sorry, we're trying to get something up on the screen here to show you. But Mr. Dew, all these things might just be confusing to the new voter.
Yeah.
All these matters. Can you not give them pointed look up notes?
Look up now. First thing is we must understand, draw the experiences of other governments,
Right.
developing countries, developed countries, and our own history, past experiences. So that is why I say I must advise the UNP leaders self-critically analyze where they have gone wrong. Now, the neoliberalism, that concept has gone into crisis world over.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the basic thing. You must. So you will have to deviate gradually. You may not be able to abandon immediately. You will have to gradually deviate from that process. Today it's a question of new economic strategy has to be formulated.
What about this? The March the 12th movement. It's a movement with a mission to elect members who are principled and free from allegations of corruption to local government authorities. The movement is an initiative of People's Action for Free and Fair Elections platform. That's about the March the 12th movement. They encourage political parties to avoid giving nominations to corrupt individuals and to encourage the public to vote for public-minded candidates who are committed to democracy. The movement was joined by religious leaders, government officials, scholars, civil society, trade union leaders, politicians, the public. Yes.
I was one of the signatories.
And you were one of the signatories. Isn't that what we should be telling?
I am also asked the voters.
Yeah. To pay attention.
Whether UNP or SLFP or POTU or any other party, even my own party.
Yeah.
If the voters see that this is a potentially corrupt fellow,
Right.
or a corrupt fellow, don't vote. That is the advice that I give you.
All right. Now then, we'll go back to some of the questions, shall we? So, well, somebody's asking, will candidate GR curtail all imports and then give whatever to his vast coterie of family and friends?
We will wait till
Until he's nominated.
policy is presented.
Then we'll have to
I
know.
can't speak for him.
No, of course
I have
not.
I have put forward my own.
What about your...
I have given my proposals to GR.
Have you?
I have given
Really?
36.5 program.
Right. Can I ask you this? Because I keep asking the same question and people will take umbrage if I don't ask it. Now, this is it. Candidate GR has a lot of baggage, and yesterday somebody pointed out that it's not the candidate, it's those that surround the candidate that we need to be worried about. Is that about a fair comment?
I think I heard that he is saying both parties, people.
Yes, I know. I was going to do one party at a time. Okay, let's ban them together.
We apply that to both same time.
Yeah. So
apply that to both.
Yes, well, let's do that.
I agree to it. Both parties. Sajith Premadasa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa also must be watchful, vigilant about people right around.
Around them.
Both.
Yes.
Don't take GR alone, take Sajith also.
Absolutely. And Anwar Kumara and everybody else.
Yeah.
33 others. 32, well, if you took 3 and then minus, so it's the other 2. So, and the 32. So,
I think I have confidence that both GR and Sajith both will do it.
They will what? They will both address that issue.
That question. I am convinced.
That will be leadership.
Yeah.
That will be leadership.
Because that is gaining ground in the country.
Indeed.
It's that idea.
Yeah. What about these things like carbon tax and so on? Do you think that
those have been, I don't want to speak about
those are small things.
Those are not the basic thing. I will ask Sajith Premadasa to speak about that. How are you going to apply income tax?
I think we'll wait for his wait for his policy thing to come out. Because
income tax rates have been brought down to 24%.
Indeed.
24%.
How could we maintain this government? The prices of essential food items. There you go. That's a question from the Mahajanatha. They're asking about the essential prices. They're talking about the price, the cost of living.
You can't understand. Ordinary people will always they are worried about what pinches them.
Yes.
Finally, and we are responsible people, politicians. Those we must the entire economy. We have to take the.
What about transport, public transport?
Worse.
If you now go up onto the railway just now and have a look, it's 7:35. If you now go up and have a look, all the trains coming into Colombo, all chock-a-block.
Far as education, transport, and health sector, these are the 3 sectors which are affecting, other than the foodstuff, people most. I think never in our history people are spending so much out of their earnings for transport. First time. And then health.
Were you unable to implore President Rajapaksa when you were part of his government to pay attention to things like, like transport, the medical side?
Like transport, I think every government has failed. The highest priority should be given to the railway.
Yeah.
Railway, without railway. Every successive government since independence has neglected railway.
Yeah.
This must be highest priority. National priority is the railway. Railway is the one, even if it loses, running at loss, still is benefit the poor people.
But just because the users are poor people, does that mean that they have to travel in squalor?
No, it's a question
like
of
sardines and more.
More than that, it's a question of time factor.
Yeah, we need more trains.
From Colombo to Pittakot, it takes 2 hours. Time, precious time, more than money.
So by train it will take 20 minutes.
That is it. So that is here for us, we must again come back to the main point.
Yes.
This is absence of planning. Planning has to be done not by politicians, by economists, sociologists, and all other engineers. They get together. The plan. There was a planning ministry. It was abandoned, dismantled the whole thing. There is no planning ministry.
Who did that? Jayajadra
did it. After that, there is no planning for the last 40 years.
Planning and implementation. We used to have that.
Yeah. Now there is no.
Yes, I know.
Both plan. Now there is no planning. No planning implementation. There is a small planning unit in the Prime Minister's office.
And what did MR have?
MR had plan implementation.
Whose plans was he implementing?
Plan, my position is there must be a planning ministry also, not only implementation ministry.
Right.
Then it has to be manned by economists, not by political leaders.
Yeah.
And they are there to advise the politicians. There may be few politicians or ministers who are well versed in economics.
Yeah.
But here, trained people they must study the economy.
So ahead of the publishing of their policy papers, perhaps they will all candidates, Mr. Premadasa and Mr. Rajapaksa included, they should focus on planning.
With due respect, only SWR Bandaranaike had the foresight to establish the planning ministry, and Dr. Gamini Korea was, although he was a nephew of Surgeon Kotharaula, Bandaranaike appointed him as the head, and he was a world recognized by United Nations.
Yeah.
He became the Secretary General of UNDP.
Yeah.
We had the best economist. We didn't get best use of him. I don't know when he even died. I knew him. Even now today we have so many economists. We are not getting best use of those people. We are getting the first immediately after the Japan government came. Who are the people who came here as economists? That fellow who upset the Malaysian government, George Soros.
Yes.
Ranil Wickremesinghe brought down Soros to advice, and he gave a prediction. Good, you will never get FDI. You look after yourself.
And therefore, isn't it better to cut one's losses and let FDI languish? But what about LDI? They need to encourage the local investment instead of taxing them to sky high.
You are said taxing. We have given since 1977 the capitalist class of this country has enjoyed so much of benefits by way of tax concessions, tax exemptions, all lump sum depreciations, everything on earth, and rates are brought down to 24%. But
nothing is worth for investment.
That is the reason. That is the reason.
Here you go. At a press conference, candidate Rajapaksa has been finding it difficult to answer questions from the media. Doesn't this indicate that this is due to lack of political expertise or experience?
No, I don't think.
Could he function? How can he function?
How can he had been a president? He has been president for 10 years. I don't know. How can I answer?
No. You can give us your analysis.
What is the question?
The question is that GR lacks political experience to be president.
Political experience? He had been the president for 10 years. How can he lack experience?
GR.
You need not. What is political experience? You need not political experience.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa was finding it difficult to answer questions from the media.
No. I don't. He is one of the smartest. I have been working with him when I was a minister.
Right.
I was active minister of foreign affairs for 5 years until the war ended.
So you disagree with this viewer?
I completely disagree. He is one of the best officials that the MR administration had. And he is a postgraduate. He enlightened man. He knows his economics. He knows his.
What do you think happened in 2015? RW said that Europe, the people from Europe, US, other Western countries are waiting in line to come and invest in Sri Lanka. What happened? Do you think?
What happened in 2015? Who came? After the change of government.
No, I'm saying after the change of government,
So,
Ranil Wickremesinghe said that people from Europe, from the US and other countries are waiting in line to come. What happened?
Merely because the government changed, people they won't come. Why is that? Foreign capital is flowing into China, a communist country? You answer that question. Capital goes after profits.
The question to you is, what do you think happened? Why didn't these people come in 2015?
They won't come here. They have other places to go.
What would your advice be to the government to change that situation?
Today, I mean, you take the latest report on foreign investment is out about 2 days back.
Right.
Global investments. Foreign investment to developed countries has dropped by 27%.
Right.
Right. Today, out of total investment, world investments, 54% is in the developing countries. Of the developing countries, the bulk is in the Asian continent and in North Asia, East Asia,
But
Southeast Asia.
Somebody watching us live all the way from Saudi Arabia has sent us this question and said, please don't forget the number one source of income to the country, foreign exchange. Isn't that, after all the planning and the non-planning and everything else,
It's the poor.
it's the people who are there, the people who are working there, and unfortunately somebody's phone's ringing, and no, we haven't forgotten that. They're making an important contribution to our
export of set.
the export. Yes, the export.
Export of labor.
The export of labor.
That is the biggest remittance. I mean, we say remittance.
But yes, but honestly, isn't that,
But that is
that's critical, isn't it?
No, it's critical, but we'll have to improve it because we must send educated and trained
Professionals.
professional, vocational trained people outside to get money. Say, for instance, I tell you, one nurse is equivalent to about 5 housemaids. So there's no planning.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But we must appreciate the solid input to our country by all those who work abroad and remit their money back home.
Yeah.
Because they do so at a great personal cost, and we must never forget them. And I think that, like in the Philippines, it's about time that the government gave them some special benefits. Do you know that in the Philippines, at Manila Airport, they have a special counter for their returning expatriate workers, and we need to do that.
Correct.
So there we go. That was. Thank you for all the questions. I'm sorry we couldn't take them all. We had over like 3 per minute on there. Thank you very much, Mr. Diogunasekara. We look forward to seeing your analysis once the policy papers are published.
Yeah. We'll discuss.
Thank you very much. And that's the way it was on Newsline this wonderful morning. Take care. Enjoy the day. Stay safe. And, of course, God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.